So when I sit down to start color grading in DaVinci Resolve, I found it to be very efficient if I have a Powergrade of tools that I use a lot when it comes to look development that I can access. And that's why we created this pack of 10 unique design curves to help you in your look development stage. So the first 5 are going to be really unique stylistic choice curves, and then the other 5 are going to be tools that I use a lot, whether it's retaining highlights, whether it's really dialed in specific contrast curves for a really nice pop to your image. And what's great about working with the Powergrade is you get to see what went on in the development of this product. So it's not like a LUT where you're locked up and you can't necessarily adjust any of the settings. It's just an intensity slider. But with a Powergrade, you can see all the individual curves between the different channels. You can see any adjustments that we made in Resolve so that you can get access to that and develop and tweak any settings you want. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to install the Powergrade. I'm going to break down each node and show you what the curves are doing, and then also how you can manipulate and tweak the individual curves so that you can create your own custom looks. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, now that we're in DaVinci Resolve, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to import the Powergrade, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to navigate to our color page, which is down here, and we're going to come up to the top left and click on Gallery. Once you're in Gallery, just right-click on this empty space and click Import. And once you click Import, you're going to navigate to the DPX or DRX file. So if you picked up this pack, there's 2 different versions. You can have the Powergrade, or you can have all of this in LUT form in the .cube files. But we're going to navigate to the Powergrade section, and you can select either the DPX or the DRX file. It doesn't matter. Both will work. And you just click Import, and there we go. Instantly imported. Super easy to import a Powergrade into DaVinci Resolve. I already had this installed, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that. And now that we are here, we're going to have to change one more setting before we get started. So we're going to navigate to our project settings and go to color management, and we're going to change our timeline color space to Rec. 79 Gamma 2.4, not DaVinci YG Intermediate. And I'll explain that in a second. And then we're going to make sure that our tetrahedral is set for 3D interpolation. I have Rec. 79A for my output color space because I am on a Mac computer, and I'm going to click Save. Now that we have this properly set up, we can go ahead and start working with this Powergrade. So I have these clips selected, and we can take a look at each one of them. And I already have them properly converted and exposed and white balanced properly so that we can get started with applying these looks. Now, because I want to apply these gamut curves to the entire timeline, I want to change my clip level up here to timeline view. So now that we're in the timeline view, anything that we do to one clip, like this, if we make this warm, this will adjust every clip in the timeline, okay? So we want this to affect everything. So it's almost like putting an adjustment layer across all of your clips. Now we can select our Powergrade, and we're just going to drag this onto this empty node. And once we do, you can see everything is laid out. Now let's briefly go over each individual node so that you can kind of see what each one is doing. The first one is going to be a stylistic split tone that is based off of the Kodak 2383 D65 LUT. So you can see the curve right here in the custom curves down here, creating this look. And then the second one is going to be the warmer version, the D55 white point, and that is going to be a nice split tone as well. The third is going to be a different split tone effect that you can play with. And then the fourth one is a little bit more subtle, but this one works really nice. I actually use this on a lot of other looks whenever I'm mixing this with other styles. And then the third one is going to be a really intense stylistic one. But what's great with this is you get access to these curves and you can change them according to your own taste. One thing that I like to do is just change the intensity of it. So if this look is a little too intense, I can just drag down my gain on the key output to say 50%, and instantly I still get the characteristics of this without it being too overpowering. And I think that's really powerful. Now let's move on to the last 5. So the first 5 are very stylistic and usually have more split toning going on. The final 5 you can kind of look at as more of like a 1D LUT where it's only changing the luminance values roughly. So the first one is our contrast curve. So you can see right here, that it is a simple contrast curve. The second one is going to be a little bit more of an intense contrast. And then the third one is where things start getting interesting. This is going to be your low contrast, where it's going to lift up the shadows and pull down the highlights. And then the next one is highlight recovery. Here it's going to pull down highlights and kind of expand the contrast in your white levels. You can see that a lot in these first two clips where these clouds. Let's take a look at this RGB parade here. And you can see it kind of expanding that level. So it's not touching your midtones or your shadows, only in that highlight range, and is really expanding it. And then also you get your low recovery, which is lifting up your shadows. Now, the reason we had this selected in the Rec. 79 Gamut 2.4 timeline color space is because these last three nodes, the con low, high recovery, and low recovery, are all built in what we call the LAB color space. So if you right click on this node, you can see that color space LAB is selected. And that means that your red, green, and blue channels are going to be doing things differently. Here you can see we have the red channel dipping in those highlights, and it's not causing the image to look cool. It's actually changing the luminance values because the red, green, and blue channels are now adapted to LAB. So the red channel is now the luminance channel. The green channel is going to be your A axis, which is going to shift some colors. And then the B channel is going to shift the B axis of LAB. So we only want to change the luminance values, and we don't want to adjust any saturation levels, which is why the LAB model is a really great choice for getting these types of results. So here you can see I'm pulling down these highlights, and I'm not introducing any shift really in the saturation levels. Same goes for the low recovery. Hardly anything is being changed. So I didn't want to manipulate the color or the saturation. I wanted to separate the luminance values so that you can get these results. So whenever I'm building a look, maybe I just want to pull down some highlights or really expand the highlights, I'll pull in this highlight recovery node and instantly get a really nice image. Now, let's go ahead and start building a look using this same structure. So we're going to go ahead and clear everything off of our timeline. We're going to navigate back to our individual clip level, and we're going to start on, let's start this clip right here. So the way we have our node tree set up right now is we are going from log to DaVinci Wide Gamut. Once we are in DaVinci Wide Gamut, we can do our exposure, white balance, and any primary adjustments. And then we can come out of that to our display, which is 709. Then we can start working with our looks in Rec. 709. Now remember, all of these curves are developed for Rec. 709, which is primarily where we're displaying all of our footage anyway online. So it will not work in the DaVinci Wide Gamut sandwich method if you're doing anything in the middle here. It does need to be in Rec. 709. So now we can start working on our look. The way to do that is we're going to right click on our Gamut curves pack, and we're going to click display node graph. And this is how we're going to select which nodes we want to bring in and use whenever we're creating our look development. Now in this case, I might want a nice, cool, stylistic Kodak look. So we're going to take this first one and just drag this onto this node right here. And instantly you can see we get a really nice image. Let me make this bigger so you can kind of see. Here's before and after. And this is only using the curves right here. Okay. And what's powerful about this is you get access to this raw data in the development of this look. Whenever it's in a LUT form, you can only change the intensity of it, but here you can actually change the curves. So you might notice that we are rolling off the highlights with this look, but if you want to maintain that, you can just come over to your red channel and let's just reset some of these points. Let's go to the green channel, pull that up, reset some of those points, and the same with the blue channel. And now we're manipulating the actual curve that went on into the development of this, and we can have it touching pure white if we want to without it rolling off. So you get a lot of control with this look because you're working with the Powergrade and not the LUT. So that's a really cool feature here. So let's go to this first clip right here. And I want to pull back some highlights and kind of really create some contrast in that white range. So we're going to, again, click display node graph. I'm going to select the highlight recovery. I'm just going to put this, let's put this at the first stage and just enable that. All right, that's looking really good. Now I might want to add one of the filmic curves from the first 5. So let's select film 2. Let's put that right here. Just enable that, it's super subtle. And then maybe we want to add a little bit more contrast at the end. Right there. Okay, now we have a really nice look here that we developed where we're getting a lot more of that highlight information. We're getting a really nice stylistic adjustment with this split toning right here in the second node. And then the last one is just adding a contrast overall to everything. And this is how we developed a look by pulling 3 of the nodes from that pack of 10 different looks that we have in the Gamut Curves pack. All right, let's try this next clip right here. So I want to actually mix this with our own LUTs that we're already wanting to use. So this one, I'm going to use x88 theta for our LUT. Here you can see that we have this look applied. And then what we could do is we can mix from this curves pack another look to it. I'm going to go to display node graph, and maybe let's just add this third one that I know is very stylistic. So it's going to be a little bit intense. So we're going to come over to our key output and just change our gain just a touch. So let's go to 50% there. All right, that's looking good. Now, because I want to do another highlight recovery and really make the highlights kind of be recovered and give a little bit more fidelity and density to that sky and a little bit of this subject's leg, I need to do that before the look is developed. So I'm going to add highlight recovery to this first node and then enable it. And you can see we're pulling back all this color information into the skin on this subject's face and the leg right here. And we're creating our own custom look by doing that. So here's before and after, and now we kind of created our own look by mixing a LUT along with this Powergrade. So you can kind of view this Powergrade pack as a tool set for look development. You get 5 unique looks with different split tonings based off the look that you want, and then also you get 5 tools that you can use for contrast to really kind of hone in and add nice tonality to your image. All right, lastly, I want to break down the difference between DaVinci Wide Gamut and Rec. 709 Gamut 2.4 whenever we're talking about these tools. So let me just add one more node to this so that we can kind of take a look at it. I'm going to add the highlight recovery one again. And when we enable that, you can see what it's doing. It's working properly. Now, if we come back here and change timeline color space to DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate, watch what happens. You can see that there's going to be causing some issues because the tool is no longer responding properly. So this curve, the LEB color space, is not going to work in this timeline color space. It needs to be in Rec. 709 Gamut 2.4. So because of that, we need to make sure that that setting is properly set up in our color management. Now, because we are in Rec. 709 Gamut 2.4, that also means that our tools are going to respond differently whenever we're working with our exposure and white balance. So you also have to keep that in mind. So for instance, if I want to come over here to my exposure and I want to go to my HDR panel, which is using the timeline color space. So right now it's in Rec. 709 2.4, and say I want to increase this by 1 stop. Okay, this is increasing 1 stop, but look at what happens. I'm going to be losing some highlight detail because I'm in that Rec. 709 Gamut 2.4 timeline color space. Now, the way to work around that is not to change that in your project settings, but to change that on the node level and in your HDR panel. So we're going to come over here to our 3 dots, and we're going to select color space, DaVinci Wide Gamut, and then we're going to change our gamma to DaVinci Intermediate. And look at that. Now we have a proper exposure adjustment in DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate without changing our timeline color space in the project settings. So if you are using this Powergrade for look development, you do need to be in Rec. 709 Gamut 2.4. And then if you're making any adjustments in a different color space, use the HDR panel here and just change your color space and gamma accordingly. And that would be the same for your white balance as well. So if I wanted to change my white balance right now, it's kind of working in Rec. 709 Gamut 2.4. But once I change this to the proper settings, then it will respond accordingly. And now I get a much better result when I'm trying to tweak my white balance. So let's finesse that there. Let's go to our exposure. Let's bring this down. I feel like that image looks really good. Let's go ahead and add a look to this. I'm going to go and add, let's do prime. Looks really nice. And then I'm going to come back to my Gamut Curves pack, display node graph. Let me change and add the low recovery, pull that up, give a little bit of that fade look. And then I can also just tweak how much this is adjusting my clip. And once I get that dialed in, I can change my key output to taste if I just want a little bit of that lift in the shadows. So instantly, I'm able to create a really nice look by utilizing the tools from this Powergrade. So the first 5, again, are just split toned effects that you really want to kind of finesse the image and give it some kind of pop or characteristic taste. And then the final 5 will help you manipulate the tonality of the image. So it's very powerful when you mix those two together. You can kind of create your own custom look, which is really powerful. All right, there you go. Hopefully this was helpful in kind of explaining how to properly install a Powergrade, breaking down each different node and how you can manipulate it to kind of create your own custom look. If you want to check out this pack, definitely visit gamut.io where you can pick up the Gamut Curves pack and also check out a lot of really cool looks that we have developed. If there's any other future videos you want to see, let us know in the comments below. Or if there's any products that you want us to develop, we'd love to know that. My name is Kalen from Gamut. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.